Well, it's summertime at its peak, and it's certainly playing out according to plan as we had some severe weather roll through parts of the Northeast, still rolling through a few parts. And we're on our way to oppressive heat and humidity, and maybe more severe weather come Thursday and Friday. Meanwhile, we've got areas around the country that are experiencing hot summertime weather, and there are a few thunderstorms going on along the way. We'll talk about that and the daily fictitious hurricane on the GFS. All of that and more on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, and Southwest Suffolk County on Long Island. So load up the truck with all the mulch, topsoil, and sand you need, and maybe make sure you've got everything you need just in case the GFS is right one day. 631-756-1125 for the best prices in town, and the website is...
Of course, it's omnitruevalue.com.
And Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is pinned to the top of the chat board. It's also on the descriptor to this video. And if you do decide to make a purchase from their website, be it this or any of the other wonderful things that are there, electronics, fashion-wise, etc., use the coupon code I Want a Weather Station, and you will get
10% off.
Which is nice.
Yes.
So these thunderstorms today bubbled up kind of early. They started. I started seeing them flare up on the radar around lunchtime in eastern Pennsylvania, and they really got pretty strong as they moved across New Jersey and into New York City. And how'd you do up there by you in the Valley of Hudson?
We had about 2/3 of an inch of rain, and it came down very quickly. There's a on my weather station, which is not a Tempest, although I'm sure Tempest could do just as good a job as what I have. I just happened to get mine before I was aware of Tempest. But in any case, there, along with the fact that I had to pick 0.67 inches of rain, there's also a button that I could hit to get the intensity of rainfall. And at one point, during the height of the rain, Joe, it said that the rain was coming down at a rate equivalent to approximately 4.2 inches per hour. I mean, it was really coming down very, very hard where I was. And it didn't last. I mean, the heaviest rain only lasted, well, maybe an hour, maybe.
Right.
So it really did come down. Nothing really severe, no roaring wind, no not exceptionally vivid lightning, although there were a couple of cracks of loud thunder, and no hail noted, but it was just a very, very heavy downpour along about, I would say around 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Well, here in northeast Georgia, by comparison, it was 57.9 this morning, and the high today, I think, was 86 or so. Pretty much a sunny day from start to finish, not a drop of rain. So it was a little more humid than it was yesterday. After this morning, the dew points kind of came up a bit as we went through the day. So gets dry very quickly here.
Oh yeah, and the sun came out about 5:30 or 6 o'clock this afternoon, and it started to dry out quickly. And I'm sure that tomorrow, with temperatures soaring toward 90, and it's expected to be locally a bright and sunny day here. So I think things will dry out very quickly. But then, as you mentioned, we've got more thundery weather on the way probably for later Thursday and Friday and probably even Saturday as well.
SPC already has a big area of slight risk for Thursday. So it kind of leads me to think that this is going to be more than just a slight risk event. I think we might go to enhanced.
Well, if it does, I hope it doesn't happen over my house. I don't need that.
No, I understand, but the dynamics for Thursday are pretty strong. One of the things today, by the way, which doesn't happen too often up in the Northeast, is that the Cape numbers were very high. They were up like between 2 and 3. They were up over 2,000, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
And the Cape numbers on Thursday are likely to be very high too.
Well, when you're expecting temperatures that are going to be, and at Westchester County Airport, we're going to be challenging records on on Thursday, on Friday, and on Saturday, with readings expected to climb into probably the lower and middle 90s, and in a few spots. I don't say this for the airport. Westchester Airport does get a slight little sea breeze off of Long Island Sound, keeping it a bit cooler than spots just inland. But inland areas, Poughkeepsie, for example, Montgomery, Newburgh, I could very easily think or see that temperatures Friday could very well climb well into the 90s. And don't even think about the heat indices. The dew points are going to be at or above 70 while all this is going on. So it's going to be a rough time uh, being out and about. Well, I mean, beginning tomorrow, but especially so Thursday, Friday, and for Saturday.
All right, welcome to everybody on the chat board tonight. Welcome to those of you who are lurking in the background on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show. A bit of a late start, but we usually are on Monday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. We will not be on Thursday this week, so I know we have a severe weather event, and it bothers me because I don't like to not be on when we do have some rough weather, but I have an engagement to attend. So
You're getting engaged, Joe?
no,
Congratulations.
I have an engagement,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
to attend.
All
so,
right.
so let's leave it at that, okay?
Right.
Having dinner with friends. So anyhow, we won't have a show on Thursday. So after tomorrow night, we won't be back until Sunday. So you'll have to enjoy the oppressive heat and humidity and then deal with the thunderstorms without us. Although I will be doing stuff during the day, and I will put up my usual weather in 5 video on my YouTube channel, so you can check that out. I'll do it in the middle part of the afternoon, so it's a little timely with whatever's going on the radar. At least that's the plan at the moment. So anyhow, subscribe to my YouTube channel, turn your notifications on, and you won't miss a show because we're on most of the time. So why don't we just go? Let's go right to the radars and take a look. We still have this severe thunderstorm watch. It's technically it's up for another. Actually, it should have been taken down already, so it's done.
I'm amazed that it still is because it was quite obvious after that surge of thunderstorm activity that came on through 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon. You look to the west. I said, "That's it. It's
Yeah,
all over."
there's nothing left. I mean,
Yeah,
there's nothing left to the west. I mean, there are some strong cells down in Maryland and northeastern Virginia, and also on the southern portion of the Delmarva Peninsula, because we do have a few severe thunderstorm warnings going on there at the moment, along with a couple of special marine warnings. But the area that formed in eastern Pennsylvania, moved across New Jersey and over the Hudson Valley, that's now the western edge of that is over eastern Long Island, and it's in central and eastern Massachusetts. I guess the back edge is probably somewhere between Worcester and Springfield, and continuing to the northeast. But it's not, the state of the line of the area of showers and thunderstorms is far less intense than what it was. We're not seeing any kind of severe weather warnings up for southeastern New England. So I think we're pretty much past peak.
right, right.
All right, and checking out the rest of the radar while we have it up, we've got some patchy showers in northeast Florida and also parts of central and southwest Florida. Looks like a little severe thunderstorm warning over the Florida Keys at the moment, particularly near Key West. We've got some showers and storms in eastern North Dakota. And moving into western Minnesota, a couple of small storms to the west-northwest of Green Bay that are moving southeastward in Wisconsin. Some patchy showers in the northern half of Missouri. In Colorado, we've got some showers and thunderstorms, and a few severe thunderstorm warnings are popping up there, along with scattered showers and storms actually throughout much of the southwest. In parts of some bands there across northern Arizona, in parts of New Mexico, even also into southern Arizona, even a couple of showers popping up in parts of southern California, back up through Nevada and Utah and southern Wyoming. So if we look at the watches and warnings map, I'm going to give this a quick refresh to see if the watch. Yep, the severe thunderstorm watch has been pretty much taken away, so it's gone, except for a few counties in and around the Washington, D.C. area, and we can see why, because there's still some cells there going on. Other than that, they've got heat advisories up for central and eastern Mass, Connecticut, uh, northern Rhode Island, and I'm just going to get a close-up view of the New York office, as they do have heat advisories up for tomorrow for southern Connecticut and eastern Connecticut. Also, the lower Hudson Valley, Route 84 South, Long Island, Nassau, Suffolk, and including the North Fork, but not the South Fork. I love when they do this. And northeastern New Jersey, all under a heat advisory. Okay, we'll probably see more of those come up in the next couple of days once the hot weather really gets established here. Heat advisories for the Middle Mississippi Valley down through Oklahoma and parts of north central Texas, a couple of counties in South Florida. Also in the southern half of, the Southwest is gotten I haven't really been paying attention if Phoenix went to 110 again. But the number of counties where they have excessive heat warnings has dwindled considerably in the last few days. I mean, it's mostly southern Arizona and southeastern California.
Incidentally, continue for a moment.
No, I was going to say there's just not much else from that standpoint.
I just want to make now the heat advisory that you just mentioned in the tri-state area. Did you say that is for tomorrow?
You know what? That's a good question. I just saw
It's not for tomorrow.
It's for Thursday?
It's actually for Thursday.
Okay, I take it back. I'm sorry. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
But it's for Thursday. So I guess they decided to put it up early, and there's more to come.
From 11 a.m. Thursday to 9 p.m. on Thursday, and they are expecting heat indices to go up to 104 degrees, and that's for New York, for the Bronx, Richmond, Kings. Don't you love? I know the official title of the county is Kings, although we call it Brooklyn.
Right.
People probably, there's some people out there will probably say, Kings, what's Kings, George? Kings County, they say.
Well,
I don't know.
Staten Island is Richmond.
Is Richmond, yeah.
I don't think I'm sure most people don't realize that.
Yeah.
Right. You have Kings and Queens, Nassau and Suffolk, the Bronx.
The Bronx and
of course Staten Island.
A whole slew of places: northern Fairfield, northern New Haven, northern Middlesex, eastern Bergen, Putnam, Rockland, northern.
And on Long Island, East Hills is actually to the west of West Hills.
Yeah.
I just punched up Fairbanks, Alaska. I just wanted, just kind of curious. It's 77 right now in Fairbanks, and the dew point is 58, so they actually have a heat index there of 79. And they've got rain or showers forecast right through Saturday. So I'm just looking here. Tomorrow, 82. 82 Wednesday, 80 on Thursday, 78 on Friday. I wonder if they run air conditioning when that gets this warm.
Renata just brought in a very interesting story concerning water temperatures in the Florida Keys that has hit a mark that has climate scientists very concerned. The hottest ever, these waters around the Florida Keys, some of the hottest ever recorded on Earth, according to NASA hurricane scientist Dr. Jeff Masters. And according to this particular article, a buoy in Manatee Bay, located between the Everglades and Key Largo, recorded a water temperature. Joe, are you ready for this?
I saw it.
We often talk about how the Gulf of Mexico is like a giant bathtub.
Right.
And when we talk about that, we usually talk about temperatures of 85 or 90 degrees.
Right.
This buoy at Manatee Bay, located again between Key Largo and the Everglades, recorded a water temperature of 101.1 degrees Fahrenheit at 6 p.m. on Monday. For context, hot tub temperatures are usually between 100 and 102 degrees.
All right, so I'll just say this. It should be noted, first of all, from what I've been reading, that water temperature was taken in an area where the water is very shallow and very murky, by the way. Apparently, there's a lot of sediment that's there where that temperature came from.
Yeah,
So, you know, that helps in that helps the water maintain the heat or absorb heat.
right.
So there's they don't and they also do not really get. I was not aware of this, but apparently when it's not like the air temperatures. There are records that you can go back and look on a certain date what the record high and the record low was. But apparently they don't have the same kind of database for water temperatures, for sea surface temperatures.
Right.
So it's not clear whether this is a record or not. It probably is, but again it's taken in 5 feet of murky water.
Can you imagine though, just 100-degree water temperature? That's pretty wild. And of course,
Yeah. Also,
and of course,
the other thing is last year. Remember, I don't know if you remember last year there was the ocean water temperature at the off of Atlantic City was 86, and apparently it was the hottest. When they reported it, it was reported as as a record sea surface temperature recorded east of Atlantic City. Well, then it turned out that the buoy was broken. So I'd like to see a little more information come in regarding this, and I don't know. It's far beyond my pay grade to understand what the ramifications are with this sort of thing, and what it all means in the last analysis. But there's no question that the ocean, the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean water temperatures are running way above normal. That's a given.
Chuck Cardillo, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Why? What did he say?
I'm not
Oh,
going to even read it.
oh,
The chat.
too many people peeing in the water? Yeah, I'm not
Dear.
going to read it either. Okay. All right, let's get back to.
I could see writing a technical paper using that as the analysis for
Yeah, can you imagine?
temperatures in that area.
Well, in the meantime, the dew points are flying up. They were well up into the 60s today, and even a few low 70 dew points I'm picking up in a few places at 5 o'clock this afternoon. 90s across southern Virginia, North Carolina, through South Carolina, and through much but not all of Georgia, and into Alabama and Mississippi. Just sort of a typical late July day from that respect. And it's very warm and humid all the way up into the Ohio Valley, into the lower Great Lakes. We've got a warm front that's trailing up through Illinois, western Illinois, and across Iowa and into North Dakota. So that's setting up a bit of a warm sector in the plains. A lot of 100-degree temperatures today in Kansas, Joe. Pretty much statewide. Temperatures up in the 100, 102. I see a couple of 104s in there. In Nebraska, it was mostly middle and upper 90s. In Oklahoma, it was 99, 100, 101, 102, and roll through Texas. We've got many areas away from the coast with temperatures up over 100 degrees again. And I'm seeing a 114 where Phoenix should be, and a couple of 113s in southeastern California and the deserts there. So the hot weather goes on as you would expect it to. And on the satellite loop tonight, see the lightning strikes in the east from earlier. They've kind of diminished. About 2 o'clock this afternoon, I pulled up the northeast loop with the lightning strikes, Joe. It was like a solid wall that came out of eastern Pennsylvania to western New Jersey. So I'm sure there were a number of severe thunderstorm warnings that went out. I'm sure a few people were taken on a bit of a wild ride today. But again, most of it's now kind of translated to the east. And the thunderstorm activity across the country tonight, at least from a standpoint of looking at lightning strikes, there's nothing that really stands out here.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what I just mentioned about the storm that we had today here in Putnam Valley. Certainly was well worth its share of heavy-duty rain, but really not much in the way of lightning, not much in the way of gusty winds. I mean, we were under a severe thunderstorm watch this afternoon. But really, it didn't really play out to be anything really severe. But then we did get a storm. It'll be interesting to see what we get on Thursday, since day 3 now. And you mentioned like virtually much of the northeastern United States is under a slight risk, and yeah, they could very well be the way things play out with the SPC that we could find ourselves with enhanced and within that slight chance between now and Thursday afternoon.
So speaking of SPC, now this has not been updated yet. So obviously the marginal to slight risk that you see in the Northeast, except for that small area down in the northern in Northeast Virginia and around the Washington D.C. area where they're getting some thunderstorms here now, is pretty much played itself out. We have a marginal to slight risk in the northern plains. And also from northern Utah northward up into Montana, where there's a marginal risk there. And there's a little bit of tornado risk in the Dakotas tonight of about 2%. Now let's look at tomorrow, because tomorrow the Northeast is quiet. From Maine down to northeastern Virginia, there's nothing. And just general thunderstorms in the coastal southeast of Florida and along the Gulf states. Then you have nothing forecast from Texas through much of the Tennessee Valley and in the southern Appalachians. And then you get into this marginal to slight to enhanced risk tomorrow. Northeastern Indiana, northwestern Ohio, and southeastern, actually southern Michigan, all in enhanced risk. And that actually comes with a 5% tornado risk, a 30% chance for strong winds of 50 knots or higher, and a 15% chance for hail. And also, not to leave the folks out, the marginal risk that's from eastern Colorado northeastward through the Dakotas and northwestern Minnesota for tomorrow. Now for Thursday, for Thursday. So they put this forecast out this morning, so it has not been updated yet. It'll probably be updated during the overnight, but you already have a setup from slight risk from southwestern Maine, southern New Hampshire, and Vermont. So from there south through all of southern and southeastern New England, all of the Hudson Valley from south to north. In fact, even going up further north of I-90, all of New York City, Long Island, all of New Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania, southeast and parts of south central PA. Maryland down into northeastern Virginia and the northern part of the Delmarva Peninsula. I'm thinking, they're pretty bullish on this already, and I'm just thinking that usually when we get closer, these things tend to get, they usually tend to get bumped up a bit. So I would not be surprised if we come Thursday, we see an enhanced risk somewhere.
Yeah, but like I said, it's been the SPC, and this is not a knock on SPC. I mean, they know their stuff. They certainly know more about it than I do. But what I have noticed over the last couple of years is that they always seem to be playing catch up. That if they have, let's say, an area of thunderstorms over a specific region, it would not be surprising if you thought that the mechanics and the potential catalyst for, let's say, a disturbance moving in was enough, that it might actually be upgraded to a marginal risk. And sometimes when that happens, you say, maybe they'll jump to a slight risk or even an enhanced risk. And what we're saying here about Thursday is that they already have much of the Northeast outlined in a slight chance, and it would not be at all surprising if between now and then, when more data comes in and they get a chance to actually see what's happening out there, maybe one of the forecasts will say, hey, Charlie, come over here, take a look at this. You think this is worth bumping up into an enhanced area here?
It's usually when you see it in day 3, and if you see it in the day 4 through, we've seen them put it up in the day 7 time frame. So for them to do that, they've got to have a very, very good feel. And like you said, they do know their stuff. So if they're thinking at this early stage, because 3 days ahead roughly 3 days, it's 2 days ahead of of, um, of an event when you're dealing with mesoscale stuff like thunderstorms. If you're feeling this confident a few days ahead, it's more than likely that you're going to go up rather than down in terms of in terms of the forecast. It
Right.
would it's a there's a higher probability that we'll go from slight to an area of enhanced as opposed to having the slight risk getting taken away and just going back down to a marginal. So their confidence level, I think, is rather high for them to do something on day three this aggressive in the Northeast.
More likely, if there is going to be any change from what we see right now on day three, it is more likely to be upgraded as opposed to downgraded. Let's put it that way.
Right. WPC rainfall amounts, nothing too crazy. Inch and a half pluses across Michigan and into parts of northern New York and and into Vermont, which they don't exactly need. Basically, a quarter to a half an inch or so from southern New England southward. Then it picks up again in the Delmarva Peninsula to southeastern Virginia, eastern North Carolina, also in the central Appalachians. We're seeing a half to three quarters of an inch. It's convective stuff, so locally it could easily be double that. We've got some 2.5 inch plus amounts in parts of coastal the west coast of Florida, particularly the southwest part of Florida, showing substantial rain there, and even in parts of the southwest in Arizona to Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, half to three-quarter inch amounts in that particular area. So not too shabby for July. Now let's look at the upper pattern because this has been something that we've been seeing for quite a while now with these troughs that continue to want to drop into the eastern part of the United States. I looked at the earlier runs and it pretty much stayed the same for the next couple of weeks where we continue to have this uh, jet from Canada that ebbs and flows. You see it start to strengthen again late this week, pushing a trough into New England on over the weekend and bringing down what should be a pretty decent shot of dry and cooler than normal air for Sunday, and particularly for Sunday night and Monday. I think that'll probably be the coolest part of this event. It's also unlike what we just went through. This dry and cool air mass will probably not get much further south than Virginia or central Virginia. So no dew point break for the southeast, and there's an east-west ridge there across the southern part of the United States. But I just call attention to this persistence of this flow from Canada with the trough after trough that's dropping into the eastern part of the United States, and of course. We have on the latest run, and I'm sure has not escaped anybody to looking, while I'm talking about the middle and upper part of the picture. I'm sure everybody's eyes are focused on the lower right, where this bowling ball comes out north of the Leeward Islands into the Bahamas, making a beeline for the South Carolina, North Carolina coast, and then running northeastward from there. Of course, this is run after, we're back to seeing this run after run on the GFS. Let's talk about two things. First off, if there were to be something there, it would have to time out perfectly so you see this bowling ball that's moving north of Puerto Rico and north of the Dominican Republic. At the same time, there's a bowling ball that's up near Great Slave Lake that's dropping southeastward. Okay, and you see it there, the upper low near Lake Winnipeg on Friday, August 4th, with a wrapped up hurricane east of the Florida coast. Now, if this is going to be a threat to this were to be a threat to the eastern seaboard, and we're only speaking here theoretically, you would have to look for that system in the northern part of the jet stream to come down at precisely the right time and position to lift this up northward up the coast, and in this particular case it does it to an extent and then kicks it out to the east northeast once it clears the North Carolina coast and goes out. So this is always a timing issue between what's going on in the north and what's going on in the south. The other thing, Joe, and you know what I'm going to say here, okay? The European has nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. Not a flake,
Nothing.
not
Oh,
an ice pellet, nothing. So until we see two global models show. Now, to be fair, a lot of the long range European models that we don't have access to, but of course, I have friends in very low places, so they feed me information constantly. Apparently, over the last number of weeks, the European has been pointing to the first week in August for something off the southeast coast of the United States. Various versions of the European ensemble pick up on it, but the European operational does not. So we'll put that out there. But I will tell you that until I see both the European and the GFS showing something of consequence here, I'm not really going to put much stock into what the GFS is doing. Okay, so just bear that in mind and expect it, even while it's still doing this particular brand of fiction, expect it to change or from run to run. The only thing I'll say, Joe, is the fact that, again, just as I was, we've been talking about this, you do have an upper air pattern that's potentially dangerous if there is a tropical system. Okay, and then a lot of other things have to go wrong for that system to move up the East Coast. But I do notice, I mean, you do have this sort of very weak. The Bermuda Azores high is not all that strong. So, I mean, certainly would argue that if something were to form, it probably won't wind up in the Gulf of Mexico and won't wind up in the Caribbean. So there's enough weakness there that, the idea of something being north of Puerto Rico and north of the Dominican Republic and near the Bahamas is not outlandish. Okay. But again, until we see it on two models, I'm not getting worked up over this.
well, I will tell you this: if you make comparisons, the both the European and the Canadian global models have by Friday, August the 4th, a rather significant shortwave, a rather significant upper disturbance crossing through the northeastern United States. Now, the GFS is also showing a significant shortwave, but it is much further back to the north and west, just entering the picture over northern Minnesota and heading for northern Lake Superior. In other words, it's much further back, more than a few hundred miles, several hundred miles back to the west as compared to the Canadian and also European models. And also the GFS has that bowling ball, as you mentioned, on that Friday, the 4th of August, off of the Florida coastline, whereas both Canadian and European models do not show it at all. And again, have that shortwave much further to the east over the northeastern United States, pretty well dug in.
Yeah,
So
I have it
are,
up. It's up on the screen.
So now there are significant differences between our friends with the American model and the European and the Canadian models. And that's why if you get excited about the bowling ball or the hurricane or tropical cyclone or whatever you want to call it for the early part of August, I mean, you got to understand that there's only one model, which may very well be the outlier, and that's the GFS showing it at the moment. Yes, you did mention about how the operational European doesn't show it, but the ensemble models are hinting at it. So this is something that we'll have to watch. We'll keep it on the back burner for early August. But right now, if you're got any kind of significant plans for that first week of August, I'd say don't sweat this for the moment. But things can change. We'll see.
By the way, so this is I have the European temperature anomalies here. This is for Sunday and Monday, and you can see the the trough that drops into the Northeast early this weekend and early next week creates a fairly large area of below normal temperatures from Virginia up to Maine and through the eastern lakes. And that second trough toward the end of the forecast period is you look at the 500. I think the anomalies are not reflecting just how cool it would be if this trough that drops down into the northeast later. This is for the week. This is for the 30th and 31st. Today's the 25th. I'm losing myself here. So this is for this weekend into early next week. There's your solid trough. And then it goes out, and then there's another one that comes in behind it late next week. for August 4th. It's got another solid-looking trough dropping down into the northeast. This is not a flow, by the way. This is not an upper air flow. If the European is right, even if the GFS is correct on the idea of a tropical system, if the GFS is correct on a tropical system and the European is correct on the upper air, if I'm looking at this upper air, Joe, there's no way in God's green earth is anything going to come up the East Coast with this.
Right.
It just isn't. You've got westerly winds all the way down to almost to south to Wilmington. You might get something that gets close to this, maybe close to the southeast coast. But this upper flow is not something that you need. That trough to drop down somewhere in the Great Lakes and down into Kentucky and Tennessee. Then we'd be having a whole different conversation about this.
It's like fantasy land.
Pretty much. So let's look at Thursday, shall we?
That stove and icebox, that's frontier land.
Yes, exactly. Let's look at Thursday, shall we?
Surely.
So, what impresses me about Thursday, I've got the NAM 3 kilometer up, and you can see. I always like to look at this is the 500 millibar. I always like to look at the 700 millibar, but they don't have a 700 millibar with the vorticity. And the wind shear, but look at those little jet streaks. There's a lot of them, and there's a fairly solid shortwave here, right in there, in western New York and western Pennsylvania Thursday afternoon. A solid kink in the flow, and I bet the instability numbers are suggestive. So it makes sense with this type of upper air with this shortwave, if it's as well defined as the NAM is showing, that the severe weather forecast for Thursday is justified.
Yeah, well, I would expect that would indeed be the case, and I would even mention showers and thunderstorms on Friday. I don't understand, Joe, why neither the National Weather Service office at New York City, Upton, actually, Eastern Long Island, or the National Weather Service forecast office in Albany, which would be forecasting for parts of the lower Hudson Valley, no mention on Friday of thunderstorms. I'm kind of scratching my head. Why is that?
I don't know.
I certainly think that there's going to be. Now, I did notice that maybe they're thinking that they're taking sides here. The European did not show any moisture, any precipitation on Friday for the immediate tri-state area up to Albany. Meanwhile, the GFS does have the perfunctory in the extreme heat, showers and bubbling up or percolating thunderstorm activity Friday in the afternoon and into Friday night. So maybe they're saying, well, the European didn't show anything, so we'll go for the European and not mention any thunderstorms. I think that for the heck of it, just for the sheer fact that it's going to be hot and very humid, go for at least a bubbling up thunderstorm threat on Friday, as well as, of course, the threat on Thursday, which looks to be, rather robust. We'll see.
I'm trying to see if there's any. I'm just trying to see it. The upper air is where the difference is, because I'm looking at the European, and the European doesn't have much of, if any, shortwave at all coming through on. I mean, you see the one for Thursday. Let's not forget the one for Thursday. That's a pretty solid kink that's moving from northern Michigan into upstate New York. That will trigger off showers and storms. So that makes total sense to me, obviously. But after that, there doesn't really show very much for Friday and Friday night at all. It shows a bit more for Saturday as the trough in the north starts to really get going. But I guess that's why the European left it out, because it doesn't seem to have that shortwave for Friday, whereas the GFS, just taking a look at the GFS, has it has a little bit of a kink there Friday evening. It's got some jet streaks from Maine down to about northern New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania. You see those yellow, the areas in yellow, so there's some jet streaks going on there. I agree with you. The daytime heating alone, if there's just so much as a little kink in that flow on Friday, that's going to set off at least some. That should set off some scattered thunderstorms. You might not want to go for go widespread, because I think Thursday probably will be a bit more in the way of a widespread development as opposed to Friday, you may not want to go widespread. But I certainly think there's enough on the models to suggest that you should at least got to put something in for Friday afternoon and evening.
Right. I think they will. I think eventually they will
They'll come around.
come around.
They do watch this show. I'm sure they're listening very carefully.
Well, we know Bill Goodman at least watches.
Oh yes, well Bill. He's always Bill's always welcome to come on our show.
Yes.
But he's waiting for that cheese platter that I keep promising him. So anyway, nothing for tomorrow. In fact, from Maine all the way down to Florida, Joe, this is kind of unusual. There's an absolute minimal amount of showers and thunderstorms. This is tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock. You got that little hook that's up in northern Michigan, and that's it. There's hardly anything going on in the eastern two-thirds of the United States. By evening time, there's a couple of spots here and there, but seriously, the vast majority of the area east of the, if you go from the plains eastward, there's hardly any thunderstorms at all. That's for Wednesday. And then, of course, for Thursday, we've got this front, which, oddly enough, the GFS is not showing very much, but the other models are. So, and then on Friday, it's the other way around. And there you see for Friday, I'm showing you the radar picture. And then for Saturday, we have the main cold front coming through. And behind that, we've got Sunday and Monday, which should be 2 days of sunshine and low humidity, which I think will make everybody happy.
And if you switch over, I've been in share mode now for a few minutes.
Okay.
I wanted to show you the CPC, the Climate Prediction Center.
All right, so real quick, let me just run through this. So the Hurricane Center's got three yellow X's. Okay, one off east of the Bahamas. And if we go, I'll just go back real quick to the U.S. satellite loop. You can see the clouds that are east of the Bahamas. There's some scattered showers. It looks like there's some kind of upper low there that's sort of drifting westward. So they've got that as a 0% chance in 48 hours and a whopping 10% chance. Significant development appears unlikely as it moves west-northwest. The system that was out in the central Atlantic is now in the eastern Caribbean. It's going into Big Shear Land, so that has a 0% possibility. And here's an eastern tropical wave that has moved off the south of the Cabo Verde Islands. Some development of this system is possible. I guess this is what the GFS is keying on. 0 in the next 48 hours and a 20% chance in the next 7 days. So now Joe is going to look at CPC.
Yeah, the Climate Prediction Center. And hang on for just a second because something got stuck on my oh, darn it. Now, Joe, now screen sharing has stopped. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, okay. But I saw it below normal in the northeast and northern mid-Atlantic states.
Well, you saw it, but I'm not sure if anybody else saw it.
Yeah, I had it on the screen.
Well, let me bring it back up again.
Well, why don't you bring it back up again?
Yeah.
Shall we? Surely.
Yeah, I hate,
I know, Joe.
Sometimes I just hate this technology where they just for no reason at all they don't.
You want the fax machines back you had to put the receiver on the thing.
Speaking of, I have a fax machine. Anybody want a fax machine? My wife says we should throw it out.
There's got to be some museum that might want it.
Oh dear me! All right, hold on, folks, because this is interesting. I thought it was interesting enough to show. Come on, Climate Prediction Center. Here we go. Temperature. Bring it up. There we are. And now, I'm going to share that. Come on. Share. Please share. Yes, here we are. Boom. Can you see that? Is that being shared now?
We see it.
Very good. So, this is NOAA's Climate Prediction Center 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. It starts on July 31st, which is next Monday, and runs until August 4th, which is a week from Friday. So basically, this is the forecast they have for all of next week. I want all of you out there, when you're out and about in the extreme heat and humidity, beginning tomorrow and especially Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I want all of you to just look at this real hard and think about this and put a big smile on your face. And even though it is going to be, heat indices and heat advisories and heat indices of 105 or whatever, I mean, just think that next week we have this to look forward to. Up here in the northern sections of New York State and northern New England, we have 70 to 80% probability of temperatures below normal. And that below normal area extends all the way down to just about northern sections of Virginia, northern West Virginia, and on into a part of the Ohio River Valley. But much of the Northeast, in terms of cool temperatures and comfortable conditions, the place to be next week is right here in the Northeast. I also notice that on the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, that the area of extreme heat has shifted, Joe. Apparently with the ridge moving more into the southern and central plains area, the area of extreme heat, or well above normal, this is like 80 to 90% probability of above normal temperatures, is now going to be centered over Louisiana, Arkansas, much of Mississippi, a part of Alabama, and eastern sections of Texas, and eastern sections of a slice of eastern Oklahoma. Meanwhile, we've been hearing day after day after day of the extreme heat in Phoenix and Tucson and all across Arizona. It appears that while they're still going to be seeing above normal temperatures, it's not going to be anywhere near like what they've been experiencing or enduring over much of the last 2 or 3 weeks. So, you hear on the news, no sign and a break in the heat in Arizona. Well, yeah, I would say there is at least a sign. At least the heat is going to be tempered somewhat when we get on into next week, because again, the extreme heat seems to be located now over the southern and central sections of the plains and down to the Gulf Coast. And again, the place to be is here in the Northeast, where we're going to be the only area experiencing below normal conditions. Now, the other thing I want to point out, and Joe, this might have something to do with that big trough that's cutting into the northeastern part of the country during that first week of August. Right here, according to the Climate Prediction Center, there is a slight risk of excessive rainfall from August the 2nd through August the 4th across all of New Jersey, Long Island, the eastern half of New York, an eastern slice of Pennsylvania, and all of New England. And I guess this, again, has something to do with that upper trough that's digging down into the northeastern states during that first week of August. That's actually the second trough. The first trough will be digging in and bringing that shot of cooler weather at the end of this weekend and early next week. And then there's a second system that looks like it'll be diving on in. That's the system that the Canadian and the European are showing, the system that the GFS still has way back over here over the Great Lakes. But anyway, there is a chance for additional wetness along with cooler temperatures in the Northeast coming our way for, again, maybe the middle or latter part of next week, if that be the case. And if you want to go 8 to 14 days out with the 8 to 14 day outlook, this now takes us all the way out to the 8th of August. And you can see that they still have, I guess as a result of that upper level system still lurking across the Northeast, they still have below normal temperatures across much of the Northeast right on into the 8th of August on their long range outlook, their 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. Meanwhile, the heat is still confined mostly to the deep south, all across, from Florida all the way across through the Gulf Coast area, most of southern and central Texas. But again, while above normal conditions are expected in Arizona, not quite the extremes that we saw over the last couple of weeks. In fact, just quickly, one more thing: the temperature outlook, the hazards outlook, excessive heat, and there's a high risk of excessive heat in the area where we were just pointing out for Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Eastern Texas. There's a high risk of excessive heat there from August 2nd through the 3rd, and only a slight risk of excessive heat over the desert Southwest. So the heat will be modified somewhat in the southwestern states, still there, and still hot, but not anywhere like what we've been seeing in recent days out there. And next week, the place that really is going to be burning, it looks like, will be down over here. And hey, Joe, you're not too far away from that. You're on a moderate risk of excessive heat from August the 2nd to August the 5th. Of course, you're 2,200 feet up, so that may help to keep you from getting to like 90 degrees. Whereas,
Right. I've only done it twice. Once the very first day of June got to 90, and I think one day last week it got to 90.3 here.
Wow.
So that's been it.
So maybe next week you too will be back in the thick of things, so to speak, up to around the 90-degree mark.
All right. You have Briller Jeopardy tonight?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. It's time for Briller Jeopardy.
Yes, I have to go now to Mr. Briller's Facebook message to me, and we will have that up in just a very, very few moments. As soon as my fat little fingers can reach the proper keystrokes here. Dennis Cassia, who's online right now, he's all excited. The Mets are ahead 6-0, but of course, Dennis
by the way, speaking of which, did you see? I posted a picture of who I thought was one of the greatest, the greatest baseball pitchers of the 1960s. Don't you agree? Do you not agree with me?
Oh, God. If I could bring that up. Let me see if I can bring that picture up.
And then, go ahead. To quote.
Oh wait, you didn't send that as a messenger. You sent that simply as a. I made the comment on my Facebook page. I said because he had played in 2,130 consecutive games, Lou Gehrig earned the nickname the Iron Horse. And I said that having been said, maybe a suitable nickname for Aaron Judge could be the Charlie Horse.
Right, you did say that.
And Mr. Cioffi came up with a wonderful picture, which I'm going to try to bring up before we do Briller Jeopardy because it's well worth sharing with everybody. Hang on.
It's delicious, absolutely delicious.
Oh, God. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen.
Hold on, let me get out of the way. The great Cesar Romero in the Joker. This must have been from one of the earlier Batmans, or maybe his first appearance as
was
the
he
Joker.
was he playing for the Penitentiary Pen League or whatever?
Yes, and didn't he escape because there was something under the pitcher's mound that catapulted him out over the?
I think it was like a giant spring.
Right. Yes. Oh, good God!
You see, folks. You see, this is why Joe and I we don't just talk about weather. We talk about other side subjects. Where else on any other weather program are you going to see a picture of Cesar Romero dressed as the Joker playing baseball? All right,
let's do Briller Jeopardy.
And here's a picture, and as you can see, here's a picture of the best pitcher ever in baseball, at least during the 1960s. Yes. All right. So, looking here on my Facebook page for Scott Briller and his questions, his Briller Jeopardy questions for tonight. We will have it in just a very few moments. I wish I had Johnny Olson here to kill some time while
yes
questions up here.
Portions of this program are brought to you by
Yes, exactly.
Bezo Bleach.
Where is Scott? There is Scott. Hi, Joe. On this Briller Jeopardy, average days of thunderstorms in summer in each city. And as we said last night, we're assuming that when he says summer, it is for the 90 plus days of from June 20th to September 22nd. So the average number of days of thunderstorms in the summertime for each of the following cities, starting with Fresno, California, Joe.
Oh, I have no idea. Oh my God. I got to think that they probably not many days. Fresno. I'll say, I don't know, 6.
Okay, so what do we have on the chat board here? John Millander says 5. Carol DeChera says 9. New Brunswick, Canada guy says 10. 6 for Craig Carlberg. Frank R says 8. A lot of you are way above. But wait a minute. Wait just a minute. Rich Rothmansky hit it right on the nose with
1.
1.
Well, I knew it wasn't a high number.
Yes.
All right. Well, you went off the cliff yesterday with the mountain climber, so
yeah. Well,
I'm up to I missed it by 5, so I took 5 steps.
How about your favorite city, Joe, where Fred and Ethel went or wanted to go? Honolulu.
Honolulu. You know,
how many thunderstorms?
this is not an easy. This is not an easy. See, now I went to Honolulu in the summer. I don't think it rained once in 2 weeks.
I just realized you still have my Hawaiian weather book.
Oh, I do. I have it somewhere. I have no idea where it is, but I have it somewhere.
Oh, well, thanks a lot. So what? How many thunderstorms do you think in the summertime in Honolulu?
Honolulu. I'll say 12.
12.
Yeah.
Tom Fox says 4. Michael McGuire says 3. New Brunswick, Canada guy says 10. And Rich Rothmansky, you got to pick one, Rich. 0 or 1, question mark. What would you pick, Rich? I will tell you this, Rich. One of those 2 answers is correct. 0 or 1. Rich Rothmansky does make a decision. He says 0, and he hits it again, Joe.
0. I should have went with the fact that when I was out there in the summertime, it didn't do anything at all. So I'm already up to 17 steps. I only have 8 steps left.
It's all due to orographic lifting. The northeast trade winds blow up the mountains, but they come down and pressed and dried out and everything else. So anyway, Honolulu 0. Now, how about Houston?
Oh, Houston's got to be. It's got to be a high number. I'll say Atlanta was 26, I think, yesterday. I'll say 32.
Okay, 32. Let's see who else is on the chat board coming up with Houston. John Melander says 35. Jacqueline Baxter says 27. Close, Jacqueline. Close. 22 for Paul Roman. Northern Grace 28. And guess what? Northern Grace hits it with 28. 28.
All right. So I only have 4 steps left before I go off the cliff.
Frank Scalero had 28 as well. And Rich Rothmansky, you can be perfect, but you were close with 26. How about Jacksonville?
Jacksonville.
That's in Florida, by the way, Joe.
I understand.
Yeah.
I'll say 30.
Joe, guess what?
On the nose?
Guess what?
What?
You just went off the cliff.
Oh, I did go off the cliff. Okay. Well, one or the other.
Yes. Michael McGuire says 32. Environmental Coffee House 26. Frank Scalera 29. At BFD 42, and that's pretty damn close.
Oh, that's pretty high.
19. Dennis, if you had only been thinking of Tom Seaver, you would have gotten it right on the nose. Rich Rothmansky, you missed it by 40.
So it's 41.
The Tom Seaver was a giveaway, unless you happen to be not a Met fan. But
no, I'm not a Met fan. So was it 41 or 39?
41. No, 41. 39. No, 41, Joe.
Okay.
41. Finally, and before I get to the final city, Marty, I hope I pronounce this correct. Maddie, how would you pronounce that, Joe? Butches?
When I looked at it, I saw, because my mind goes immediately to Buc-ee's, because you know how much I love going to Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
So yeah. I'll say Buc-ee's and wait to see if Maddie says that's right or wrong.
He says, I like these guys because they are real meteorologists, unlike the others that you see on YouTube who are not meteorologists. They could give you false information, hype things up just for the money. And believe me, folks, we're not here on this channel for the money. We want the money. We love the money.
We love the money.
We love the money. When you hit that tip jar, we love it, but we're not here just for the money. We're doing it because we like it.
Yes, we do.
We enjoy each other's company.
Yes, we do.
Joe has not invited me to dinner in a long, long time.
Yeah. But, you already have an invite that we discussed.
Yes.
Okay.
But I'd have to go to Buc-ee's about 15 times before I got to you.
Well, certain things are worth the drive, Joe, and Buc-ee's is one of them.
How about Las Vegas? Las Vegas, our last city of the night. Average days of thunderstorms
in the summer.
During the summertime, yes.
I'll say 4.
Okay. Anybody else out there? Latex Streams, another ad. Moderators' hands tied.
Craig Carlberg says 0.
Chris O'Shaughnessy 3. Paul Roman 2.
2.
Canada Guy, New Brunswick Canada Guy 2. Dennis Cassia 2. But
it's got to be 1. Frank Scalera
came so close with 8.
Oh, okay. It's a high number. So it's 7?
But Pat BFD hit it
right 9.
With 9.
Oh, okay. I was
9.
I said 4. I was too low. Yeah, this is not a category that this is not easy. This is tough. This is tough. All right. You know what, Joe? I went to Longhorn Steakhouse tonight, and I had one of the best steaks I've had in a long, long time. They cooked it Pittsburgh style. It was perfect. It was a cowboy ribeye. Oh my God! I was raving about it to the waiter. It was
Don't do this to me, Joe. Please don't do this to me.
It was terrific. So it's right now. It's like my body is fading because it's telling me, between that and the baked potato, my body wants to go to sleep.
I had a bowl of soup. That was my dinner tonight, and a lovely salad. But
what was it? A cup of turtle soup? Did you make it Did you make it snappy?
It was some kind of Campbell's soup, and I don't know what it was, but it was good soup.
Well, Campbell's is good soup.
In fact, in one episode of Batman, Robin is sampling some soup. I don't know. I forgot. I think it was the episode with the bookworm, and he was sampling a soup, and he said, "Darn good soup," and that's what I had tonight. Darn good soup.
Christina Petey is mad at me because now this is her saying this. I'm not going to assume that it's correct, but she says I need to stop because I need to stop. No Wordle is tough. Stop being so damn good at it. At Joe Cioffi. That's because I got the word on the first try a couple of days ago. It was a total guess. I mean, it was just I use random start words. So it took a total just whatever it is, and I happened to guess it. And then day before yesterday, I got it on the second try, and today I got it on the third try. No, I got it on the this is 2 days ago. I got it on the second try. Yesterday I got it on the third try. And today I got it on the third try. So and now I'm going to go play Waffle before I go to bed.
Okay.
which is like it's like five wordles in one at once, or four wordles in once that you're doing. So, all right. You know what, Joe?
Frank Scalera on the chat board says, because right now it's 7-0 Mets. They're playing the Yankees tonight. He said, Steve, I'm a diehard Yankee fan. This is very depressing. Frank, listen to me, Frank. If Verlander comes out in the 7th or 8th inning and they give the game to the bullpen, you've got a chance, Frank. Take it from me, Frank. That bullpen will give the Yankees a chance to get back in the game.
Well, not unless Cesar Romero is going to come out and.
Not unless Cesar Romero comes out. Good night, everybody.
All right, and the Joe and Joe Weather Show is brought to you by our affiliate Tempest by WeatherFlow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is pinned to the top of the chat board. It's on the description of this video. And use the coupon code I want a weather station, and whatever you purchase there, you get 10% off. And Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number for the best prices in town, and the website is
omnitruevalue.com. Yes, Frank Scalera says, you're right, Joe. Thank you, Joe. Yes, I know my Mets. I know, and if the Yankees lose tonight, I still think they'll make it a game before the game is over with. 7-0 now, but give it to that bullpen, and we is all in big trouble, Met fans.
Yes. All right, everybody. See you tomorrow night.
Good night.